So on February 27th, 1985, the Chicago City Council passed a resolution roasting me as the City Hall reporter for the Daily Southtown newspaper. I covered politics from really from 77 until 1985 that day. And I had been offered a job at the Joliet Herald newspaper in Joliet to be their political columnist. And I was really looking forward to it. So Alderman Bernie Stone, who was a very decent alderman from the 50th Ward, he was Jewish, I was Palestinian. We were always talking about the Middle East in a very positive way. He was just a great guy. He introduced the resolution to salute me leaving. And it turned into a roast with all the aldermen standing up after it was read, making jokes. I thought it was really funny. The irony, of course, was that the roast got the attention of Ken Towers, the editor in chief of the Chicago Sun-Times. And Ken Towers told Mary Dedinsky, the news editor, to quickly get on the phone and call me. So I can't remember what day of the week that was. It might have been like a Tuesday or something. So she called me, and I remember Mary Dedinsky said, because I had tried several times to get hired at the Sun Times, and each time they didn't meet with me, they didn't take an appointment. And Mary Dedinsky called and she goes, and I just talked to her the week before about, is there any chance that they have any openings? And she said she didn't think so, but she'd keep my resume on file. And then that day, after the city council meeting on February 27, 1985, she called me and said, look, I don't know what's going on, but Ken Towers told me to call you and hire you. He wants you to come down here in the morning and meet with him to talk about a job and a new column he's starting at the paper, which turned out to be page 10. So he ended up hiring me that next day. So I never left the city council. This whole audio file that I'm going to play for you of the city council meeting was really kind of funny. And it kind of reflects the relationship between Chicago aldermen and journalists, funny and serious ways. There were some jabs, and of course, I can dish it out, so I could take it. But it was pretty funny, and I ended up taking that job at the Sun Times. I had to call the editor at the Joliet Herald, and it always made me feel bad because being the columnist, the political columnist at the Joliet Herald, might have taken me on a whole different route rather than at the Sun Times, where when the editorial management changed, I got in a fight with the Sun Times over Mayor Daley's interference and anger with me over a bunch of stuff. But that all aside, I thought it would be interesting. I had a tape recording, and I'm transcribing all the tapes that I have from the Bolandic administration. I have his Jesus Christ and Shah of Iran speech that he made to the precinct captains just less than a week before he lost the election to Jane Byrne in 1979. I have many of Bolandic's remarks. I have Jane Byrne's speeches and press conferences and cassette tape. I have Harold Washington, who really was a funny guy. And you see this come out. He jokes, as the city council president, the mayor, of course, moving this resolution for Alderman Bernie Stone. So listen, I hope you enjoy this replay of that moment in February 27, 1985, when the Chicago City Council thought they got rid of me. And I thought I was going to be leaving. And one footnote, there was one new alderman, Dorothy Tillman, who just arrived at that meeting. She had been at Cabrini Green. She worked her way up in politics, got elected alderman, and she was given a bouquet of roses, a dozen roses. And during the council, now she didn't know me very well, but after the resolution passed, she took one rose and gave it to me as a going away present. that got mentioned in Harry Golden Jr.'s story about Dorothy Tillman starting her first day in the Chicago City Council, that she only parted with one rose to give to Ray Hanania, who was roasted and being saluted, maybe not saluted when you listen to it, but was leaving the city council. And that's what caught Ken Tower's attention, and which got me started in, I think it was only about 4 days later, March maybe 5th or so, 1985, when I started at the Chicago Sun-Times. So I hope you enjoy this. Since this is a video podcast and all I have is audio, I'm going to run some of my City Hall photos. They have nothing to do with this meeting, but they kind of show the different atmosphere of Chicago City Hall, the meetings, the press room, and I'll run that with the audio of the roast that was done by introduced by Alderman Bernie Stone, and I think about a dozen aldermen got up, including Alderman Burke, Cliff Kelly, Bert Nateris, Mike Sheehan, a bunch of them wishing me well and not so well. But they were all not so well in a funny, roasting manner. I hope you enjoy this.
I move for a temporary suspension of the rules for the immediate consideration of the resolution.
You want Mr. Hanania to leave?
No, I think he wrote it, so he better stay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Proceed, sir.
I would ask that the clerk read the resolution.
Whereas Ray Hanania, senior political reporter for the Southtown Economist newspapers, which serves the southwest side of Chicago, the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 18th, and 23rd wards. And whereas Ray Hanania started covering City Hall in December 1978, before the blizzard that changed Chicago's political history, covering the last months of the Blandick administration, 4 years of Jane Byrne, and 2 years of Harold Washington. And whereas McMullen threatened to punch Hanania in the nose, Jane Byrne called him scum, politicians on the southwest side compared Hanania to Rasputin and Royko. And whereas Ray Hanania attended Northern Illinois University and Chicago Circle campus, got into journalism by accident. And whereas at Circle campus, Ray Hanania was befriended by the late Professor Milton Rayco, studied under him for 3 years. Professor Rayco steered Ray Hanania away from a major in Middle East studies, telling Ray it was safer to be a political terrorist at City Hall in Chicago than behind a sand dune in the Middle East. And whereas Alderman Verdoliak once told Ray it was time to find some honest work, Hanania says he has decided to take his advice. And whereas Ray Hanania will be leaving the Southtown Economist newspaper and City Hall on Friday, March 8, 1985, to be a political and government reporter for the Joliet Herald News, and may continue to write his grapevine column for the Southtown Economist newspaper at a lesser frequency. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the mayor and members of the City Council of the City of Chicago, assembled here this 27th day of February, 1985, do hereby extend our heartiest congratulations and best wishes for a successful and prosperous future. And be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be forwarded to Ray Hanania.
Alderman Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on behalf of my Semite first cousin, the illustrious Ray Hanania. And you notice, of course, that I come from the far north side, not from the southwest side. I find it interesting also that Hanania got into journalism by accident. I think we all knew that anyway. Ray and I have not always agreed. Yeah. But in any event, we wish him well. We noted with interest, when I came into the city council, the fellow that occupied the desk that Ray presently is occupied was a fellow by the name of Jay McMullen. So we found it interesting that the first thing that McMullen said to Hanania is, "I'm going to punch you in the nose." We look with interest as to who will occupy that desk next, but we all wish you well in Joliet. We hope you stay there. And once in a while, we can put up with your race, so come back and say hello.
Alderman Nateris and Alderman Mell.
Mr. President and members of the council, I think the drafting of this very witty and cheery resolution is very, very appropriate. I have a great deal of respect for Ray Hanania. I don't agree with many of his political philosophies. Unfortunately, Ray and I do have one thing in common. We're both Semites, and we both go back to the Bible. His people were very, very fortunate when they were wandering in the desert. There was a fight over 2 wives, and one wife was kicked out of the house and went into the desert, and they discovered oil. And so the fight has, and there was a discovery of oil. I suppose our people should have gone south instead of west into Egypt, where we became slaves. But I have a lot of respect for you. I think you're a very, very good writer. I think you're very, very perceptive. When it comes to the relationship of you and I, you're a little prejudiced, but I'm willing to be tolerant, and I wish you a great deal of luck, and I think we're very, very fortunate that Rakoff did find you and persuade you to go into journalism, because I think great things are going to happen to you as time goes on. You write well, you have good instincts, you have good perception, you're a good analyst, and I don't know why you're going to Joliet unless you want to start a prison riot or something, but I don't think you're going to end up in Joliet, or inside or outside. Well, I hope you don't end up in Joliet, other than just one of the visitors' tours. But I think you're going to go on to bigger and better things, and I certainly hope that you do. Thank you very much.
Alderman Mel.
Mr. President, members of council, who can forget that day when Ray came on the scene? We would all remember those who have been in the council long enough when he came and asked us where he could bivouac his camel. We all knew that, in fact, that he was an up-and-coming young man. We knew that, in fact, he decided to leave the PLO. He said at the time when they were making some explosives and they went off, and he said, maybe you get in something easier, till he got into the shark-infested city council press room, where he found that he fought for his life. I remember one time when him and Harry got into a good discussion there. Him and Harry got in a very good discussion. We haven't all liked his columns. A lot of us haven't. A lot of us have. He has always been an individual who you could talk to, and I think that one of the things that the press always said, that there's nothing personal. I think, in fact, with Ray Hanania, nothing was personal. I think that he always kept a sense of humor and kept talking with people, and we all wish him well in his new endeavor.
Alderman Kuczynski and Alderman.
Mr. President, I join in this resolution, and I have one word of advice to Ray in listening to Alderman Nateris and Alderman Mel. Just don't inhale. The fact of the matter is that when I recall this press room, there were 5 reporters in the press box: the Tribune, the Daily News, the Sun-Times, the Chicago American, and the City News Bureau. Recently, I counted the members in the press box. There was, I think, 57 different members. And I looked at Ray Hanania, and I decided that he certainly represents the old adage, the blind leading the blind. I've always been very pleased, living on the far northwest side, that I've been outside the circulation of the Southtown Economist and outside the sting of Ray Hanania, but I felt sorry for my colleagues who have to endure his penmanship. Nevertheless, I certainly want to wish him luck and success in his new journey, and I'm sure that he's going to be just as successful in Joliet as he's been here in the City Hall.
Alderman Sheehan, pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You know what I almost did, don't you?
I know. We don't have to go through that again. I would also like to add my remarks to the resolution for Ray Hanania. I think when we look back over the years that Ray has been in the City Council, we know that sometimes we haven't always agreed with him. But one thing that we always agreed with was when Ray Hanania challenged Jay McMullen challenged Ray to a fight. I myself would have loved to have officiated that fight. We probably could have held it in Soldiers Field. And it would have been consistent with most reporters. They could have gouged, kicked, and had a lot of low blows, and I'm sure that none of the council members would have objected. But in all seriousness, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, as far as Ray Hanania's column is concerned on the southwest side,
I will say this, the distribution of the Southtown Economist has probably never been higher since Ray Hanania has come to the paper. Even though we don't always agree with some of his articles, he's been very innovative and very creative, and I think he's done a very good job. And we will miss him. How much, I don't know. But in time, we will find out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Shin. Alderman Humes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to be associated with the remarks of my colleagues, not about the prison system, Ray, but to wish Ray well. And it's one thing that City Council will know now, that we will be guaranteed to win the softball game because Ray Hanania is not there to hit the home runs. Good luck, Ray, and Godspeed.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I also would like to commend Ray for his new position and wish him well. Contrary to what Alderman Natera said about you getting into Joliet, the most expeditious way for that is to run for city council. I have heard no mention of Ray's radio show. I was pleasured by being on that show a number of times, and of course it was at prime time. I think it was aired at 6:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings. But to all of you, I'd like you to know that when you make these comments about Ray Hanania, in talking to him earlier, I understand that Ray is going to be printing a new political piece called the Chicago Political Reporter, which will come out once a month, and I'm certain that he will be talking about all of his good members here in the City Council. Good wishes to you, Ray.
Additional discussion, Alderman Evans is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I, too, would like to extend commendations to Ray Hanania, a man that I've watched over a number of years here in the City Council, and I consider myself honored to be able to call a friend. I was not aware that he was planning to leave, and it saddens me somewhat to hear that. I want to say this to you, Ray. I didn't realize how valuable you really were. I've heard the recitation of your enemies, and your stock has gone up substantially. I wish you Godspeed, and I, too, would like to note that in view of your potential absence in terms of the baseball game later on this spring, it would seem that the press is going to have to do some substantial organizing to be able to keep up with this. Wish you Godspeed.
Additional discussion, Alderman Burke is recognized.
Well, Mr. President, I think that during the time Ray Hanania was here in the press room working for the Southtown Economist, he always subscribed to that legendary adage that all the representatives of the Fourth Estate who cover the City Hall subscribe to, and that is that never let the truth get in the way of a good story. I must admit that I should have suspected there was something wrong when after all these years he wrote something nice about me in his column last week. But for that, those kind words, obviously once again subject to his same problem of lack of credibility, I must express my appreciation. But Ray, although you and many members of the City Council, especially those from the Southwest side, have differed on many occasions, I think that your difference of opinion was always in the spirit of constructive criticism. And we want to assure you of our good wishes for your success in your new ventures, wherever they may lead you. But remember, you can always come back here to a welcome, and good luck.
Additional discussion, Alderman Roger.
Mr. President, Ray, you and I sometimes have differed for like 8 months, but let me wish you the best in Joliet in all seriousness, and I think you've been fair. If you look at all the speeches, there's one thing I always want you to keep in mind, Ray. It only took 20 minutes for the first Southwest Side Alderman to get up. Good luck, Ray.
Additional discussion, Alderman Stone to close.
That we adopted by a surprising vote. It hurts to say it, Mr. Mayor.
What was your prejudice?
We move its adoption by a voice vote.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. What resolution is adopted? Alderman Evans is recognized.
President, perhaps we could extend courtesy of the floor to Ray Hanania.
Any objections? Any objection? Hearing none. Be brief.
Let me use Rhodey's microphone because I know this is where most of the votes used to be controlled from. I just want to tell you that I appreciate all the comments, and in spite of, some differences that some of us had, I want to tell you that the 7 years that I had here at the City Council have probably been the best, and I was very fortunate to be able to work with a number of really, important people, all of you. And I hope that I run into people like you in the future, and I wish you all the best. And I'll be reading about the council wars, probably writing less about it in the future. Thank you very much.
Alderman Burke moves to approve the journal of February 20th.
It's 2 days this year, and to all my Irish friends, I want you to know that we're going to close off Division Street, and all I ask you to do is please hold it down to a mild roar.
Omnibus.
Alderman Sheehan,